London. This 2021 on that also be great. This is year what 2022 mo enzime ma obia official pa. Official pa emu ed dene pai. I say happy new year. And before say be corona mechia obaya ya obabro nyi oba ni kuno Mr. Kwati o se on electricity for omo ni
auto electricity pa.
Ozi wu kasa to where you born into o se auto electricity pa. Enti we dem meko abedwafo so before say be corona mama abedwafo achia munye na. Obaya ya na me bisa about your Christmas. How was your Christmas?
The Christmas was amazing. It was good. It was I think it was this year, obviously we all know it was a really good year compared to last year because you were all able to meet as family. So for that one year, like I said, the Christmas was good. I can't complain.
Yeah, Sammy, good evening.
Good evening.
Na official plans also.
I feel anybody now.
And Afia Nibana.
Afia neighbor now.
Afia ya Nibana.
I feel neighbor now.
Come to me. Oh, and that way they want my because coming to me. I'm biting my
tongue. I say we should just have a draw now. Yeah, I want to be in England for the commander. I want to Ingram.
Oh, na manya to kwasona me ba me bisa o say me.
I'm just saying it's a new year. You need to, be actively sing.
Yeah, I will be. That's one of my New Year's resolution actually.
Well, we hope so.
Oh, that's the one trusting me, bisa.
Yes, I don't.
I will be. You'll be surprised. I'm a natural of you. You'll be very surprised. Maybe that's a fan.
That's
why I down. Anyway, so how was your? Let's look at 2021. And what's your reflection of 2021?
Oh, it's the Omicron reflection. I think I'll see.
Omicron. Now I said, what single back compare out to?
Yeah, but something we started from the end. Then
okay, all right.
And I know that. I mean, obviously, and unfortunately, it was one of those ones that getting to the end, you were very much expecting, to enjoy the festivities, and then we had this Omicron hitting. Then it became much of being careful, really, to go out and but so the ending of the year. Even though I had a party that I attended on the 18th of December, fantastic party, wonderful party. It's one of those parties that if you go and you even fall ill, you don't give a damn sort of, my life.
And it's not like I know.
No, I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm saying, sir, it's one of those ones now. It was really fun.
Or
And
is
that,
it because is it because you find it very interesting? Is it because throughout the year, there's been a lot of not people, there are a lot of restriction in terms of gatherings, social gatherings.
not necessarily with I mean, yes, of course. I mean, thinking about the last year where the restrictions are much more stringent in nature, where we couldn't party and all of that. This year, much more relaxed, and I was really happy the government decided not to shut things down, because that would have been devastating. I can't go 2 years on a row without celebrating my Christmas, So it was fantastic year ending. The beginning of the year, as always, last year was brilliant. I mean, this year we're looking forward I have my own resolution for the year.
Your own resolution?
Yeah, my own resolution. So this year is a year of projects.
A year of projects. Oh, I see. So you're going into lots of projects. Is it because you're going into contracts?
Oh, no. But we have my personal stuff when your contract.
Oh, okay. Now I just need clarification.
It's just me, having some targets that I'm very hopeful I'm going to meet those targets.
So, that's good.
That's my New Year's resolution. Last year's resolution came true.
Oh, and what was your last year resolution?
Last year is gone, so I don't even want to dwell on that. So,
okay.
What was your last year?
I think last year was the year of savings.
Year of savings, yeah.
And then it kind of yield to year project.
Year project.
I think our listeners.
I thought last year was a year of spending. The year before was a year of savings.
Actually, that's true. The year before was the year of savings. Then the following year was the year of spending. And
now the project
begins.
This year I hope so. Your listeners can actually put the whole thing together and know what we are.
Mami Bros, Samia, a little bit of background how 2021 went. In your own opinion, in a gist, if you looking back into 2021, how did you see 2021? Not just the bad side. Was there anything good as well from 2021, Anna?
2021. I mean, I think probably I'm probably not the right person to ask anyway, because 2021 wasn't a great year for me. I've lost a lot of people in my family anyway. So losing my dad and I've lost my uncle. I've lost two of my uncles. I've lost an auntie. I've lost a cousin. So I've lost a lot.
Were they all COVID related? I just to put it out there.
As far as we all concerned, they're all based in Ghana anyway. So one was cancer, and the cancer was the youngster who was in 2022. His was cancer of the throat, and it's somewhere he went to work in Ghana, and the chemicals went inside of him anyway. But obviously, did not click. Nothing gets said about it and stuff like that. So So for that, it makes you wonder how many people are dying in that company anyway. But yeah, he was a young boy anyway. So then I lost my dad. I lost my uncle. I've lost two of my uncles. So and an auntie as well. So yeah, 2021 is a heavy year. It's a difficult year for myself and my family. I guess wherever life throws us, and we carry on, and we you can only keep on going. You can't stop anyway. So we hope it's 2022. Will be a good year, a year of more sort of growth. Yeah, a year of growth, a year of projects, as someone said, and we will see. We pray to God that this year, we don't get any more COVID sort of limitations and stuff like that, and life moves on to where we are. That's what I can actually add on to 2021, a summary of 2021 to 2022.
How about you? What was your year?
Oh, it's very interesting. It's good to be asked, because sometimes when you sit here, I'll be able to question me. I'll be questioning, so it's good. I think 2021 to me, kind of a mix of both. Because 2021, a lot of things went on. The same penny account here, account 19 now account. As a buyer, a kind or buyer, this moment we fear has saying, now we are one big family. It is a car or buyer, and that is indirectly, I come here. So there were a lot of deaths I experienced besides the family and friends. So a lot of things went on. A lot of people lost their jobs because of the cuts. But the good thing is that we're still alive, and you see, once there is life, there is hope. And as you said, on the 18th, that was the climax.
Yeah.
Despite everything, I was at that party as well. Oh, it was party. Just a proper one. I think that do we advertise on the radio? I
Not
can't
really.
remember.
No. It was very private.
It was very private, but and it was very kind of small group, but it was quality. And see,
So you mix it.
Yeah.
It's regretting. He told me.
and see, besides all this, we are all alive, and you share your boom. How many people died in 2021? We were not better off than them. I personally, through COVID now, most of them, and yet because of more bad health conditioning, it's not because if we be on ma statistics near their mind, almost taking but yet they lost their lives, and yet you're still alive. There's hope. In the Yamena,
Hallelujah. Amen. I'll say amen to that. And I'll,
at the end of the year, this year, last year, hopefully 2022, we hope we something good will come out of it because we can't. It can only get better. In my.
Well, we hope so.
Yeah, it can only get better.
We've been hearing about new mutations.
Since there's a new one, these everywhere.
I don't even know. Yeah, we are tired now.
New one be
keep it to yourself.
Every 6 months we need to boost that. So,
yeah, it's therefore, as you all know, and because it's our first show of the year, we want to make it very, very liberal, very informal. It's also bit to me, friend, how 2021, how your year was. Was there anything that was the lights for you? And I said 2022, we New Year's resolution. So if you can share any and share, because some media was a year of projects. Or by our own resolution, Diana.
No, I've stopped doing those things.
You stopped doing
yeah.
And was there a reason for that?
Because it never comes, it never flourished to anything, nothing happens to it. So I think that you just have to control yourself and obviously be mindful. And today what we learned at church is we sow a seed everywhere that you go to, and so you always sow a seed around anyway, so then you reap it as you go along. So yeah, I think I don't have any New Year resolution, but I just take it as it comes and be mindful of how you treat others and stuff like that. So for me, yeah.
It's already a middle in common. Yeah, there's one story here I would like to touch on. And one of this story this started or say someone in Ghana the 31st night and same baby in the course was sorry them or VC 10 Parliament if you are 31st night to be our sorry them. Now sooner Yakobo Pine de Shia Afifrono, Nahono na prophecy, and my prophecy into it. Now I remember this year, a year, Dr. Dampare or Nene a pussy for team, Also the police probe 31st night prophecies. Also Ghana Police Service says it has begun analyzing videos of prophecies made on the night of 31st December 2021 to see if any of them was complicated in breach of the law of the country. According to the police, in a statement released on Thursday, January the 6th, anybody found culpable will be put before the courts. And the police ahead of 2021 watch night and New Year church service caution against the communication of prophecy that had led potential to cause fear and alarm to public and endeavors lives. And see, but prior to that, not please for about the warning or now, my story, not very interesting. I think Obaya is the city, but the story best start to Obaya. So far, no, young prophecy beyond every year, be out betting now, so for wasting away, so far, as a video, what's it? Sunshine now, one and a moment. Before when they sit January, English Yana, or Mabas of analyze it. all the videos, Now, what was interesting is also the Ghana Police Service service notice it will go after and prosecute any religious leaders who will prophesy harm, danger, and death of any individual or group without proof of prophecy being true. Same for the same fate also awaits all who publish such information or share same through electronic means, especially where the said communication has the potential to cause fear and panic or alarm the public. And see what thing said before, the first night now, more issues are video you. Since you are on the same thing, I will day we are. Is this your video with me? Do you think I have from me? Message your man.
Before I even answer the question, Bukran, how do you prove? Because if they're expecting them to prove the prophecy, now how are they going to prove it?
It's spiritual.
So how did God tell you? And how do you ask the question?
And they say, could do to one man.
I kind of wonder how you can get them to prove it, because if they say God told them, to be honest with you, this conversation, I think we've had this casually between ourselves anyway, and I just think about we've heard so many things whereby we've said to people, like, if people call for a very but nice young you, young just again now. Now, I stop for the say, and I just again, so, now you're more sorry than more like the or now a friend say almost I can say
Impokua.
Agents are all over there, so in some way, I think I remember saying something like, these people need to be protested. It's getting ridiculous now. Like every day, the only people they see things. How come the COVID in the Bible who's the Obi plan to say Obi prophesy says like, COVID will not grow away. But apart from that, it's so funny, most of them were different more different idea of the sorry, whatever, but they never prophesy about any good thing happening in Ghana. I think that it's good that the police have stepped in. I think that we're not going to tolerate this nonsense anymore. Excuse me to say, I'm not saying every prophecy is wrong. Every prophecy may be bad, definitely the right ones, but some of them are not the right ones, and it's fake.
Majority
of them it might not come from their bar, from God. And for those ones, I think it's about time that we start looking into it and trying to stop all those things from happening. What's because sorry them is fellowship, because she and my fellowship together. How can maybe the more draws in the entire year of people? All these things, it doesn't make sense. And I don't think the God we serve, is how he will want people to kind of bring their stuff to the puppets to just bend them and do all those things. Now, we hear, So for me, anyway, it's about time. I think if you start doing these things, it's about time you start the police start looking into it, and then and then dealing with those situations. We don't want to be told that someone is going to die. It's about, we don't want to know. If you can't tell us the good things that's going to happen in Ghana, we don't want to know the bad things that's going to happen, because it's always the bad things that we hear. You don't hear any good things. So we should. It's about time. I think it's happening so many places in Ghana, in Africa, and across the world, that people are making people to start doing things that is not right. So for me, I think it's about time they start. Please get involved, and as they go involved. But maybe and say, how are they going to be able to prove it? So I'm assuming somewhere. Okay, say I join for example, on the third. So when that, then I don't know how they're going to do that. But it's about time that the conversation is being they have that had with them. Yeah.
Mommy, so I know. As a question, maybe so what maybe a white war. Only said Ghana. My two major religions, Ghana, a Muslim and Christians. A lot of Ghanaians are Christians, and a lot of Christians believe in prophecy. Do you think that dampering any policy way and the way our Mashas, is going to kind of oppress prophets and not that school of prophecy, which is part of the Christianity, is just going to some way somehow be oppressed? And I say people will not enjoy true prophecy, and so therefore it's going to affect the way of worshiping for the Christian conform from Christopher Ghana.
Yeah, and first, me that's it with the I think say most of the things that I wanted to say, Anita has actually touched on already. The directive from the police, it's very much related to what the law. I wanted to read a bit part of what the police said after the 31st of elapsed, and based on the story now, okay, and this is because that's actually quite important. I'll say it reads like this. We would like to caution that the law on publication of information, including prophecies, that have the tendency to cause fear and panic or put people's lives in danger is not limited to 21st December only, but should be adhered to on a daily basis. And it continues, said, we should reiterate that the law and the police are not against religious practices or the performance of religious doctrines and beliefs such as prophecies. However, if such information is communicated publicly and undermine the laws of the state, the relevant laws and sanctions will be applied. So it was very clear what the police was trying to achieve with this done, because the process itself is not what they targeted as through the religious organization, because I don't think the police is going to police prophecy per se. You can prophesy about what God has revealed to you, then you speak to the person about the prophecy. And I think that the private nature of prophecy is what they try to promote here, because the idea that if there's the revelation,
But me,
yeah.
sorry to interject you, and I know where you go in say prophecy need your pass and you say me who be or who am afraid na makacho and when it comes to pass, so say bomb by. But what these are software no they do is they use the prophecy in the form of advert, and hence they come into the public domain.
Correct.
Yes.
Which is where the problem lies then, because the idea about prophecy, where I mean, I don't know so much about the Bible, but I mean, from the little I know, I don't see anywhere in the Bible which suggests you will have to publicize or broadcast that prophecy. I'm sure there might be experiences in the past in the Bible where the prophets might have said something to the kings. I quite remember during the Israelites when they moved from the
Small Bible.
a small BK knowledge.
Oh, BK.
They used to be the Israelites used to be run led by the church, so to speak.
By prophets.
Yes, so that's what I wanted to imply. And that moved because they said they wanted to be ruled like other nations have been ruled. Then they move on to the kings, and that's why how Israel, I know my Bible by the way. I mean, I did a little bit of Bible knowledge. So I know that big thing.
So the rest is like it in the book.
Yeah, Samuel, when Samuel anointed this Saul and moves on to David, all those people were kings that were anointed or appointed by God, so to speak. But what I'm saying is that when there's a revelation, my understanding from the small that I read, that revelation was spoken to the person specifically, that the revelation is related to. It's very possible that we can go on that tangent. If we still believe in prophet, I don't think the prophet itself is where the problem is. The problem is the publication of that prophecy where it brings about panic and public fear, because that is now a state law. And it's clear in the Bible where the Bible suggests the law, the Bible has never in once says we shouldn't obey the law. I can't see anywhere in the Bible where he has actually
Even
suggested that.
Christ said, give to Caesar what belongs to
Exactly.
Caesar.
So the recognition of the Bible that the law is very important, the law of the state is very important, is actually one of the things that we need to acknowledge. So the church is their pastors, they do know, So this is me looking at it from that perspective. Say, if the prophecy is true from what you said it is, there are clear ways that you can prophesy without causing the panic and fear. Now, if you go and stand on the radio station and tell me, say, my dad will die, you basically going to frustrate me really badly, even when my dad is there. I don't want to use stuff because dad is already gone, so it's convenient. Yeah, so you put a person into that sort of state of mind, for of distress, and I think that is what the law is trying to guard again, because the thing is about publication. I've heard a lot of people spoken about, and actually members of parliament also kind of in fight with the police in a very small sense. They are trying to say the way the law is being interpreted by the police, is not how it should be. And we need to something has to give for us to actually streamline, these, fake prophets in the system. That I mean, me saying fake prophet does not necessarily suggest that if I mention any passage that they are fake. I'm just basically saying that the way people do it. So, for example, this Nigel Casey guy who, I thought he was super confident about his prophecies.
Yeah, what did he say? I can't remember his
He brought about he has a prophecy, but it's not, the prophecy is to a nation called Umofia. Have you read this? Things Fall Apart before? This Richard Things Fall Apart.
Yeah.
He used Umofia in that story about a land called Umofia.
Yeah.
And of course, because this guy is so scared about the directive which has been given, he's hiding under a pseudonym. Say, my prophecy, is not about Ghana, but it's about a different nation. You get it? So to the point I'm making is if you are very clear in your mind that God is speaking to you, you should be very confident and still go against the law. So, in my sense.
Yeah.
So they can do the right thing. I was listening to Usbimpa as well. After I think the directors, after the first, I think on the first or the second I was listening to, and you could see clearly how guarded he also was when he's also trying to speak about prophecy. They are all scared, and that's how
because he's been arrested before,
of course,
twice, I think.
Well, he's been arrested, even if it's once, and I think this is one way that we could control the lunacy and the in issues regarding how they cause a lot of panic and fear.
Patsy, Wuzup
so
Radio.
long, to deal with this, to deal with, because during election year it becomes so rampant where presidents or aspiring presidents have been, supposedly been prophesied that they are this and they are that, and we've allowed this, to continue, on a basis.
I think what you were saying, I agree with is so if you know and if it's coming from God to you, then you shouldn't be scared to really say.
Yeah, you shouldn't be scared to go to prison.
Yeah,
it's just died on the cross for us, didn't he?
Yeah, plus again,
the
the disciples, I think most of them kind of they went through tribulations.
Exactly.
Mandela died for or went to prison for what he believed in. So if you believe in what
if you believe that your prophecy is actually from God and you are not making things up,
I think
go and do what you think you can do and go to prison and suffer for it. Because in the sense you basically say that I am with my God.
And I think it's very interesting. I think this has kind of taught Ghanaians, all of us, a lesson, because we all knew, those of us who are Christians or our listeners or mere Christian, they all knew in the Bible, people like Paul, Saul, they were told not to preach when they were seen preaching, because that's what they believed in and that's what God has told them to do. They were arrested and even some of them were put in prison. And I remember in the Bible, some of them in the night, angels came and their shackles were kind of taken off by the God, and the prison doors were closed, yet they were able to walk out. And that shows the power of God. And through that, people believed in them. So it's interesting how today the so-called prophets, they kind of they rich themselves from.
The word prophets has been so cheap now, that everyone calls themselves a prophet, and it's just so, it's making the word prophet look so simple. You know, you can just basically go and sleep and eat some fufu and have some dream and come and call yourself a prophet because you've been dreaming about banku, you've been dreaming about cassava, and you can basically predict that yes, you're gonna have cassava tomorrow. I'm a prophet. You know, it's just they've made mockery of what the real prophets. You know, prophet stands for.
Yeah,
That's very,
HA4.
that's very
That's very interesting. At the time check at the moment is 8 minutes past 6. Mofanche and Naya and Shasi and we were having some technical issue. Intimi Pacho, o tuning in Eliana Wayne, yeah, Mofanche. Still at the police quarters. This wiki of say Ataji at then as COP Mamitiwa at the Dankwa is a new Yoko boss. I'll say IGP releases COPTWA to operate from the presidency. COP Mamitiwa takes office as Yoko boss on Monday. COP Mami Yatsiwa Adudankwa has been appointed by the president Nana Adudankwa Akufo-Addo as a new executive director of the Economic and Organized Crime Office. The high-ranking police officer until the appointment was the former Director General, Police Professional and Standard Bureau, and that's a PPSB of the Ghana Police Service. Daily Guide Network.com has reported her appointment, which takes effect from Monday, January 10, 2020, according to the Daily Guide report, was contained in a letter from the presidency stating that the former head of criminal investigation department will be the over will take over from Steve Raymond Dapa Ado, a consummated lawyer. It is also reported that the outgoing boss of Yoko may be elevated to chair the Yoko boss. Now, you read my many CV now, my name is a chartered accountant, and ECCA, and a whole lot of he's got a lot on her plate. Now, my main first story and starting Samiso. And him said one of the best appointments Akufo-Addo Emeki is to appoint Dampari. You've seen the impacts Dampari Ghana. Who said Sisi of first lady and as the first woman Mamiti Wano looking at my mini record and my mena kasa shower born in her because I don't want to waste it for time we see we know my why and in terms of logistics statistics what Kosovo and all that and now our point of bar in Ghana history as Yoko Boson and how did you what's your initial reaction?
Well, not my let me hold my initial reaction, then I'll just say a little bit few observations, on this. So I actually chanced on this story on on Friday. Was it Friday or Saturday? I can't remember. I think it might probably be yesterday or maybe anyway. And when I read it, I was taken aback, and for a simple reason, which I'm sure every one knows what the reason.
Is it a Takaradi story?
I'll come to that, and also with the things that have happened over the past. As you rightly said, if you look at the general nature of the way her CV basically is, and the experiences that she's accumulated over the years in terms of policing, having rise to the ranks, I've gone do some accounting qualifications and chartered as an accountant, and my understanding she did it in a very record time sort of thing. She was only the second woman within that group.
There were two. Yeah.
When she was in the police, and she topped it, my understanding. So it's very clear to me, say this is someone who is academically gifted, in the real sense of things, and therefore issues with capability in so specific field might probably be because if you put a CV down, you have no doubt about the capability in terms of what the person's has done.
There's difference
I
between book knowledge and
I'll come to
practicality.
that, and I also, some time back, well, let me see when late part of the last year, December, her son, who is also very, very much academically gifted. Her son
Won a lot of
she got 15 awards
awards. Yeah.
out of 21 awards for the medical school in University of Cape Coast, my university. And obviously that.
Oh, just to interject, I thought you were Legon.
Oh no,
The way I'll
Kebas.
cover for now, because
What do you mean?
because
Kebas, they
so
come
I
from-
hear that like
Kebas,
if
they
you
come
want
from-
if you want good English, you come from
I
Legon.
said no,
I mentioned it once, but you smile and laugh about it, so I thought you
Oh,
were
is it?
actually
Oh, well,
Legon.
okay, I probably wasn't paying particular attention to that. But there's no other university than Kebas.
Oh, that is debatable, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's no other university than Kebas.
It's
You
debatable.
get that all you like. But then going back to the so if you look at that record in its sense itself on the surface value and the fact that he's actually his son, and if we believe in genetics now, you might say you probably got it from the mom. I don't know the dad. Maybe the dad is very clever as well. You never
That's
know.
not fair. We don't even know the
I
man.
don't know. But so I'm just assuming that
Assume.
this is basically what the issues are. So capability or maybe competence, maybe one of them might be clearly on paper. There is that thing there. But you see, the problem that Nanado is basically having, which people have started criticizing him about appointing Madam Tiwa, is the issue, as you rightly said from the beginning, the Tadi missing girls saga, where it became very clear that her office is very much incompetent.
Because it's interesting, because when I first saw the story, the first thing is it not this woman who allowed those girls to die.
Yeah, on under her watch
Yes,
that
yes.
it happened. And
But
she
interestingly,
was-
they don't really talk about it. It just push on. The
Oh yeah,
side,
but
yeah.
we know
Yeah.
we know what the truth is, and she was removed from there when Dampare took over. Dampare immediately. That was one of the first decisions that Dampare made, and I applauded him in this station. Said that was a smart move to remove the woman from where she was because she failed miserably. That's I don't know about her records in the past, but she failed basically, man. That so then. If I'm the president, somebody like this now, you don't bring the person to another responsibility of such high integrity that you need in those offices for Yoko. And Yoko boss, and yet I'm not saying she's not on paper. It looks she's a chartered accountant. She works. She knows
done a bit of statistics. Yeah,
she knows. So you will see say Jumano. But you see, Ghana, we have a lot of people who are also equally qualified. But you see, people have been making a lot of allegations, and I read a bit about her. So the family and friends government that's somehow because obviously she shared the same surname with the president, which of course I've heard her saying that her surname is picked from her husband, so she's actually from the Ashanti region, and I guess there's no blood relation. That's what he said. So you give that to her, but there must be something there that I can't understand why the president is not seeing. For the president still, despite all the odds against this woman, despite what has gone on, because people died under her watch, she came out with some publicity stance and giving some false information about and giving some predictions about what they're going to do, and she basically messed the whole thing up.
She said, I think she came. One of the things she said was everything is under control.
Oh yeah.
They know the girls are
they
safe.
know where the girls are.
Yeah.
They are safe. So you don't bring somebody like that and give the person into a sensitive office again, like Yoko, because the record shows that she failed on that, and people don't like her because of that. So unless there's something the president knows that we all don't know about, it makes you start believing some of the things that you hear say. Ebiana Bibi Woha, there's some relation going
some
on.
loyalties.
Yes, maybe. I mean, we all know loyalty is important in, I mean, this is one area that the president is basically failing. Presidents always find it difficult, in my view, to let people move on. I think he struggles to do that. Osafoma for one of those, people in the presidency with all
They've
the
got history.
problems. Yeah, and you bring Osafoma for again back into government. So everybody a problem one home, then you bring them back into government again. So
Mami ko Obaya
it's a
so.
very bad decision.
Oba, so me I'm making a submission. But everybody needs a fair chance. Everybody deserves a second chance, as somebody will put it. I'm sure say mama no why you never be brave. I good. Unfortunately in life, why you never be brave. I say I the one bad nut it's say baby. I'm sure say mama no why you never be brave. One mistake or I sign a record do you think that she deserves a second chance? And as a woman empowerment, irrespective of, because all these people say the relationship of there's no proof at the moment. Do you think she deserves a second chance as a woman?
Thank you, Vanana, for your question. Anyway, for the role, she's actually kind of called a role anyway. It's a big role anyway, so you have to have somebody that's very competent to do the job. And there's three things I want to touch on it. I'll probably start with being a woman anyway, getting another woman, being a woman and having a woman lead, especially in a country whereby women don't lead. It is nice to see, because what we're trying to say to the society is that you can be a woman and you can work hard to get that far. You don't need to do anything else, you know what I mean? And that's maybe to whatever. You can work hard through your hard work and you achieve what you want to get to. So for that, now I applaud the government, the government for putting a woman in front of in Ghana, because we don't normally hear anything, you know what I mean? Emma are really sort of
taking a lead.
Yes, taking a lead. So for that, I am grateful for, and I think it's a nice thing to see. There's two things anyway. I think you two touched on it. One being the fact that from the time that kept the whole thing that happened in Takoradi issue, how he dealt with it, and because there were so many things that was said, or we said it and everything's under control. Nothing really came out, or we are dealing with it. We know where the girls are. By the end, the girls were probably been killed long time ago. But being a woman and knowing another woman in charge and not trying to sort of see the pain that their parents would have gone through, for me, it's difficult for me to even recognize. You know what I mean? That is a bit difficult for me to actually think.
Could somebody not argue that? I understand that it's under her watch, but she's not on the ground to do the face-to-face directly with it. And it could be that people who were on the ground failed her. And when the reports came, we didn't have the detail. Somebody would have had the detail whether those people were sanctioned. They didn't come up, and at the end, she will have to, obviously, as a leader, will have to take the blame for it.
I mean, we have directors. Your company you work for anyway, directors, and we all working under people anyway. What you come and tell, or what we give you, and you say it, you have to have a proof that they're all cannot be right, because you're dealing with people, human life. What else? You know what I mean? So you can't say on the ground, people didn't fail you, because you should have done your work right. You should have made sure the information in the man is right before you came out and told the family or told the whole Ghanaian population, say like, you do the right thing, you know what you're doing. For me, it's a red flag to me. Then while you guys were talking, I wrote down was the issue with the Canadians that got onto a kidnapping at that time. Look at how they dealt with that one, and actually managed to kind of release these girls out of it. Why are we saying that? Are we saying that was it not the same government they dealt with the Canadian government to release these people? How come they couldn't use the same sophisticated whatever equipment or whatever they did to actually do a good job to actually find these girls at that time? So for me, there's a lot of things that, as Sammy said, and there's a lot of things that doesn't make sense to me, because the whole issue is so sensitive. Because obviously, parents here know what you can. You imagine how a parent would feel with their child being how it happened, and there's no any remorse, there's no any apology from her, there's nothing. It just is done. That's it. Then we move on. And now, to see this woman actually be promoted to that position, I think it's an insult. Actually, as the government, I think the government has made a big mistake, because people will be upset because she failed, and she failed the people, and she failed, and she lied. Miss Adam she lied about knowing what she was doing. How can I trust a woman like that? And I said, someone forget being a woman. How can I trust a leader being in that position, knowing that she fails miserably and then get promoted? Whilst we live in a world whereby business or failing miserably, you move them and obviously try to sort of engage with the people, but you don't give them another role 2-3 years later on. It's like nothing happened.
So, Obaya, Mami, put out the question again. Do you think this woman should be given a second chance or not?
I think not for now. For probably in a different role, but I think that for the position that she's gone for, I think that it's wrong. And there's, as I said, it's very debatable anyway. For being a woman, yes, it would have been nice to see another woman in that position. But for her job, or if I'm going by what she did on that particular role, and that's what she stood for and what she did and how her capability at that time, and I think she failed the family, she failed Ghanaians. And I won't trust her.
And how about, Mami Brasam, so I know you share the same way. How about the many lives you saved?
Well,
do we have to charge her on just?
She hasn't lost her job. She's still the
she's the CICID boss.
Basically transferred. So she's still COP.
Okay.
So she hasn't actually. There's no effect on her income, so to speak.
She's going to get more.
But she's on the salary.
One thing I learned from when I did business and marketing is, we all know this and we always say it anyway. It's like you always take one. You can do all the good in the world. It only takes one.
Especially when you're in leadership position.
Yeah, you can't say like your people failed you. What were you doing? How did your people fail you? Why were you not?
This is you promoting mediocrity. If the person is non-performance and you still give the person the promotion for non-performance,
that means you're rewarding. It is capability issue.
Well, of course, it is capability issue. The president was basically rewarding mediocrity. In my view, I still clearly say, if we be on year, you don't reward them. Okay, don't sack her, because I don't think that job is the issue. It's more of a competency. Sometimes people need training, or you need to move them to a different department. They might function better, which is what Ampari did. So for the president to say, okay, yes.
For the president, what was the president thinking? Say, for something that was so difficult for a family, say, if you care about me as a president, we vote you in as a president, and something like this was so painful to me. I can't see how. In about 3-4 years' time, it's like, oh, forget it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Bring them back. How you as a president, how does that make you? I mean, your integrity and everything will be questionable, because
this is why the judgments a lot of times, sometimes very, very questionable, because I don't see clearly why he's not seeing some of the things that everyone seems to be seeing.
And from the education that he has had, and we all know that when things happen, have to lie for a long, long time anyway. The person has to put themselves in a different way.
It's your fault. Sammy, any Anita, I'm just conscious of time. Mami Wonka, what's your view on this? Do you think it's an Anakufuado? Why you're wrong? Our numbers no you be 0208 144 8773 0208 144 8773. Moving on to the next story, it's very interesting. Also, whistleblower employee of KITH dismissed. Also the staff of Komfuanochi Teaching Hospital who dragged management of the hospital to Commission of Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Raj, for alleged mismanagement of COVID-19 fund has been dismissed. A letter signed by the myjoyonline.com, the hospital disciplinary committee, described the content of his submission as false, and his explanation to some of the media as breach of hospital protocol, thus forming the basis of his sack. According to the disciplinary committee, Mr. Awuni Ayeraba peddled falsehood when he alleged that management of Komfuanochi used COVID-19 donation to acquire luxurious or luxury vehicles. Again, it is true that the official vehicle of the medical director was involved in the accident, but the police report on the incident indicated the driver was Professor Bafo Poku, the medical director, not his wife, as you allege. This is a major offense, and under the hospital disciplinary code, section 13.2 SX. misconduct. It's added. Mommy fat story. I don't know who would like to touch on this story. Ghana, the way people are fearful to report. They have been penny for we be a penny. Your backhand and that's what you follow. This is somebody, Mr. Winnie. No, this story they did not tell us the rank I what Kufanochi Honum. Now I am bold enough to even see a Ghanaian for the first time as a somebody or what a subordinate. What are the directors of I call a Shraj. Now what and because I sem now or by okay and you say yeah, one of the way on this can is say can and then director doctor in a navy and as he alleged from Wayno and two or mind you see almost kind of for luxurious cars. It's because of that I remember say Rebecca I don't know whether it was Facebook or Facebook in the US whistleblowers are up and assembly pool court. I don't know whether they've come to the end of it.
The whistleblower was invited by the Senate. Was one of the committees that basically goes into some of these. When you're under the protection of the Whistleblowers Act, I don't know what the laws in the US is. It basically means that you can say freely whatever it is, and you cannot be prosecuted, and that of course subject to the fact that you're not making things up.
Yeah.
So the act itself. I mean, most advanced countries has this. That I was checking on this, and Ghana has the Whistleblowers Act actually in 2006. Act 720 they call it, and I'll read some small portions of what the Whistleblowers Act actually says. And it says here, and this Act the Act 1 in America, a person may make a disclosure of information where that person has reasonable cause to believe that the information tends to show an economic crime has been committed, is about to be committed, or is likely to be committed. And a B say another person has not complied with the law or is in the process of breaking a law or is likely to break a law which imposes an obligation on that person. And a C say a miscarriage of justice has is occurring or is likely to occur. So we share with this specific issue now. My understanding, and I don't know why this case has actually not been taken on by any, human rights lawyers, to perhaps, I don't know the details.
And is it, you finish yours,
but because if you look at what the Whistleblowers Act 720 suggests, which clearly says, and this is where I think this specific case falls under, and I read that again, the person may make a disclosure of information where that person has reasonable cause to believe that the information tends to show an economic crime has been committed, or is about to be committed, or is likely to be committed. So you can see what the act is trying to do is to
even stop it.
People, exactly, to stop it from before it actually happens. And of course, if it starts happening as well, to be able to identify people that have, so that you will be protected freely under the law, that ought to be cast as and you don't face prosecution. So what this person's specific issue is, and he's suffering, in my view, which the only thing is I don't know what the
code of ethics.
No, this doesn't follow under code of ethics. I
so
think
what they use was the code of ethics of Confanoche. That's what they are using to sack him.
The act itself supersedes those code of ethics. The Act of Parliament, exactly. Because the Act of Parliament supersedes what administratively you've actually created. So I think, and I don't know why I was thinking that because when I heard this, I thought, has anyone taken on this case and has any lawyer spoken about this? Maybe I haven't heard.
Or even union members sometimes.
But it is not a union thing. This is a legal thing where, because it's an act of parliament. So
no, the reason I'm saying union, because sometimes some of these things people will decide to go on strike to fight it, and that will push.
Okay, maybe the union representative to help out. So, but like I said, you cannot just be making things up, by the way, and say you want to take the Whistleblowers Act to, be under. So if it's just you making force with the knowledge you know himself, I don't know what kind of force, then that one you probably not be covered under the law. But if you believe in yourself, and this is how I interpreted the thing, because like I said, is likely to be committed or is about to be committed now. You believe in your mindset, this is basically how it should have been. Yeah. But I think it should have been protected somehow, because when the story broke, it was super big, But the story will develop. I'm sure.
This is the beginning of it. I don't think it's just.
I'll be very surprised that he wouldn't take it further, And even if he doesn't take it further, doesn't a member of parliament, within his constituency have to come out?
Obaya, so I know it's Obaya is coming in here, and OT sad stories. Say we Chromano, Obikra was it doesn't state how long this person has been working at Confanoche, but they encourage people to even whistleblowers to come out actually, because a Buama and Yoma Koye, says COP, Mamiti Wadi, they be a whistleblower because can't be Wasewa, Katakra de girls in Kabianka, do you understand? Because sometimes in California, Katasumu, so everything is okay, and this is what sometimes leads into big trouble. What's his story? I know that this is the beginning of it, even though it's the end of his career to some extent, but it's the beginning of fighting things. Do you think that there is a revolution going on? And do you think that this story, can push kind of war either to come out or to shut them out? And
thank you very much, Nana. I think it's very it can either do one or the other. To be honest with you, I think I think at times I blame the people as well. I think when you hear these things in anywhere as a member of public, I think it's up to us to push for more to support this people, somebody that is trying to do something good. I don't think this guy to one man or sorry, I want to say something like this. I think he must have seen something, right? And he was, as we read the act, and we was trying to stop it. Or what I was thinking as you were talking was, it says there's something you said about something about reasonable. I can read the first one anyway. Again. From
reasonable cause
to believe. May make a disclosure of information where the person has reasonable cause to believe that information is
exactly. So reasonable cause. I don't think that he would have had a reasonable cause to believe that something was either going on, about to happen, and therefore he decided to be the one to do it. I think we the public and actually we the Ghanaians, we all have to come together to help situations like this. I'm sure the whistleblowers ban. I think it's how we also support them. Like, oh, this is what's going on. We help push for the change and say something was wrong, and therefore it's good that's come out, so we know this was what's going on. If we don't stand on the side of this person to help this person through it, then it's going to be one of those situations whereby it puts fear. So I will do it again. And that's what the problem is. I think that I'm sure, we don't know much, but I'm sure this person would have had, obviously, as we said, he would have had a reasonable belief that something was going on. Therefore, he did that. And I actually think that he's done well to step up and just do something, because in a normal circumstance, we don't do it. And I think it's the beginning of something. It's the beginning of we've had enough. And when we see things going wrong, people are using money, like people are dying of COVID, and all this supporter is supposed to go to help. Somebody's using it to benefit themselves. I think we should all be able to sort of support them and help them through it. We've seen recently in so many countries whereby the youngsters are not taking it anymore. We are saying like, no, this is wrong. We want to push for change. So this is something, but I don't know. I pray that this is the beginning of something, and it pushes somebody to actually stand beside or behind him and push him. I was also hoping that by now, some lawyer people will take this on. But I think when it comes to lawyers, I think what they tend to be, you have to be very careful what you take on, because you also don't want to lose. That's the fear culture we live in anyway. So when you want to even do it, you also the fear of. You're not going to be able to get.
This specific example is not a criminal case; it's more of a human rights issue.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of, when you lose a human rights issue, it doesn't really
affect your.
It's you protecting something for humanity. Yeah.
But is it not interesting? We're talking about whistleblowers, and that cast my mind. Some okay, a brand new friend teacher Kojo. that teacher now social media, so most of the time now. As I'll picking go for video now, can him to entertain people. He's a professional teacher. Or cultural there we create say. Now, no, we cross it too. And now I can't say now or no even pen name chalk how mobile so no he uses his own sikakakra or computers nowadays Emma Crossy Hawk School no school ni we and he started showing pictures about the reality on the ground and now obviously the government didn't like it. GES, the district, a friend who meeting, and day, and once at the end, we all knew that he's been dismissed from GES. He's been.
They put him back on, but they've demoted him to.
But to start with, see, Emma, in GES, teacher when you cry if we need them, and I think Coach Sheldon interviewed him. Kofi, this guy, Kofi TV also interviewed him. Now, all he did, according to me, reading from the unknown side of the story, and I don't want to be biased from one side of the story or the letter. Anyway, the letter was out. Say on your lesson notes on Shaw way and on way of producer. They say there's a lot of teachers on the classroom. On right, is this sackable offense? And these are people who are promoting what is government need promoted. Said this is what we're doing. Said free SHS was a free and school was a day. Now says this are demoting the poor. This is the same fear. On your idea, if you are this person or yet social media person for the amount and yet that easy say makes me passionate or for him to even be demoted. So what are we telling Ghana for? Or do you think that teacher could is kind of a stepping out, kind of a more motivated kind of for
and I can't know why we mommy they say after the case and I by the way we pray so like people take it on the situation whereby the people will rally around him. And give him support because it's a then would you want to even go and just lose your job? Bro, but you're much fees and for no one will do it, and that's a culture that we create, promoting this behavior. Say it's right, so you don't talk, and therefore bad things are happening, and it's a few people that are benefiting, and the people that are on the for being more as a supporting woman doesn't see it. Chroma saying by your let your flow, yeah, when you're free, Ghana, we have to send baby because they put Ghana for more tone at the end, but they're not supposed to sell them. But we know these things happen, and I mean, what Chroma say, it could do Ghana is a different ball game. It's not one but one at the end anyway. So. There's so many occasions whereby the more for sale, not for sale, you might charity wise anyway, but someone will sell them. And it needs to change. We become so greedy. I don't know whether we promote a culture whereby it's pure greed, whereby we don't think about each other. All that we think about is our pockets. And I just don't get our culture really. At times I don't get. And of course, sorry, but the things we do is so against God anyway, like what teaches anyway. It makes me wonder. So because I don't believe in church and I don't want to go to church, people don't understand it. But it's what these people stand for and what they do. And I'm not saying just Ghana and Kwani, yes, I'm just going to say this, we at times I'm just going to be the black people. We have Africans at times we tend to do it, and mainly because I can speak from Ghana point of view that we tend to do it, and I see a lot when you are in Ghana. Who tries to be class of paid mama and program, who is so boo, who see on patch mama juma meye, the man and pay the do the manner. Of course, remember you are the juma chance at 9 or 11 or 12 or 1 because I was in a bar or in the back of school. So all these things, it doesn't promote, me a chroma team. Also could do 9 I could be so until we learn to sort of respect the law and do the right thing by it and just try and sort of be each other's words.
Keeper. What's up,
it's not going to work.
Just the teacher Kojo issue. I don't think that he's falls on that. The way the whistleblower act is meant.
No, it's different. But I brought that out because onunso Eddie Bibia and your whistleblower itself, but Bibia true. I want impetuous so within the village, but obviously when he came out, they wanted from his recount, they wanted to get rid of him because they didn't like what he was promoting. And because of that, they would check. So mistake be our baby.
No, so if you put something across, this is what's happening there or wherever, then you are trying to tell the public that this is the what. Because
I get what I'm just
there's an element
because there's an issue of disclosure where you work in an organization. There's something that I'm just trying to see.
That wasn't not necessarily a whistleblowing, but yes.
You are whistleblowing of the situation on the ground.
I mean, you could use the word loosely in terms of the law. Does the law really represent it in that sort of format? Because the law is very clear about what he's classifying as a whistleblower. It could be something else, but maybe not necessarily a whistleblowing issue.
Yeah, his was definitely not a whistleblowing. 100% not a whistleblowing.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm just reading from what the law basically.
He was actually kind of. All right.
A person may make a disclosure of information where that person
has a reasonable belief that there is a crime to be committed.
Information tends to show that an economic crime has been
committed or about to be committed or
it's likely to.
It's always a crime.
Yeah, but that's what I'm reading. So another person has not complied with a law or is in the process of breaking a law.
But teacher Quintus one wasn't a law. It was more about
the law. The Whistleblower Act is very clear about what
yes.
And maybe it's not everything that falls under.
That one, Teacher Kojo's one was definitely 100% not whistleblower.
I mean, I don't know.
But it was more.
The dictionary defines a person who informs a person or organization regarded as engaging in an unlawful or immoral activity.
When you define it loosely, we can generalize it. You have to be speaking to what the law has actually said about what they are classifying as whistleblowing. So you have to look at it. Anyway, to be quite honest with you, the act itself, I haven't read all the acts. For the thing that we probably mentioned might probably fall under the act. But we are all lawyers. We just you can be lawyers by reading and understanding what the law basically says.
Lawyers.
I mean, to be honest with you, the Ghana's constitution is very clear. You just need to be saying, understand A from B to know what the constitution basically say. Most of these acts that you see, to be quite honest, they are very, very clear. And I believe the framers of the constitution, they make this into the level where, I mean, of course, and it may be a kind of like that, but basic understanding of what the English language is should let you understand. Of course, when you go to the court, the fighting in cases is a different ballgame. You need to remember cases and they will say this, that, and to defend and not to defend, all that. But in you reading what the law says, understanding it, everyone can do that. Every single person can read it. Just like the Bible. We know the pastor is more competent to interpret the Bible because they do it all the time. But
interpretation is
differently.
I agree. But my point I'm making is say,
of course,
and that's what God wants you to do. He doesn't want you to let somebody.
I mean, sometimes we just can educate ourselves about some of these simple things.
Moving on to one interesting story. Remember, we talked about the Takoradi girls, and this week you'll see weekly wrap strike by various unions, commencement of vaccine mandates, remembrance service for Joy brand and GM, benchmark value discount, and SM card re-registration saga. Now,
how are you? We are fetching the audio
several labor unions in the country began a year with nationwide strike action. Members of the certified registered anesthetics on January 1st withdrew their services. A letter co-signed by the President James Iwansagra and General Secretary Frederick K. Porras, explained that they took the decision because members have not been duly licensed. The Teacher and Educational Workers Union, on January 5th, on January 5th, embarked on strike action over government failure to pay all outstanding arrears relating to their professional and development allowance. The union, however, at the close of Wednesday, agreed to suspend its strike action after an emergency meeting at the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations that involved TEWU and Employment Ministry, Ghana Education Service, which is GES, Minister of Finance, and Fair Wages and Salary Commission. And also on January 5th, business activities at Cocoa Marketing Company, CMC, and depots in Kumasi came on a halt after cocoa carriers embarked on a sit-down strike. The carriers withdrew their services due to the refusal of the companies and their mediators to raise their salaries over the last 5 years. And members of the College of Education Teachers Association of Ghana on January 6th laid down their working tools indefinitely. January 4th, government commenced its vaccine mandate exercise and measure implementation to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Individuals who were unable to prove their vaccination status were not allowed into the premises of some public institution. The Ministry of Health was among the institutions that forbid persons without vaccination card from engaging, and it goes on and on and on. I think that tomorrow, I think the university teachers are also going on strike. So the strikes, it kind of, it goes on, and I don't want to go through because it's kind of a lengthy way. But in fact, story started some so we all knew what the Kufuor administration 4 years and up. We all know promises are on what they buy. You name the on my one district, one dam free SHS, and our employ and as our appointed Dampare is doing a fantastic job. This year, but there's some good things that why about so I say Mr. Dampare is doing a good job. Listen to what I'm saying properly. Yeah. And say, and now, I also have a freight so no shipping Emma, a abuso kind for spare parts for many days, great, not Omoraho. And that is the private sector. Yeah, this week, reporter Bismarck said there are some videos we of which I'm sure say and for almost 20 pesos on the and 1 city. And for 5 years, 20 pesos and all these organizations, teacher for nurse for anesthetists, first of all, nurse for pan and what the anesthetists some them compare the what does it tell you about this Ghana and this government?
I remember at university there was one of these strikes.
What's up,
one and two. Now, I remember one of the things that we used to teach people on campus, your GPA, your grade point average, where it tells you which class you'll be in. And when someone is struggling, basically, then some of the ways that we used to tease them, so with GPA, it is a 2 and TEWU is
the lowest of
the Education Workers Union, and they are actually paid really badly.
Even polytechnics, the polytechnics are even worse.
Yeah, I mean, teacher and education workers.
They kind of all within that. Okay, yeah.
And they don't pay them well at all. But you know what? It is. I think it's the whole public service, civil service pay, which is obviously a big issue for government. Because recently, when they took over, and I might probably not get the figures right here. The revenue to okay, let me take in this instrument. The public sector pay is consumed 70% of public sector pay consumes the revenue that is collected by about 70% of, and therefore it's good to that point where whatever revenue is coming, the stream comes in, you have less for developmental purposes.
Because everything goes into pay.
Exactly. So the government is in this situation now, and this is why these things will continue. They are in this situation now that they have to freeze public workers' pay. In terms of, okay, there might be increments in pay with inflation. Maybe they're not going to match it to inflation because that would be astronomical. So there might be some small increment of that, which perhaps they might deal with the tax increase that they have in mind. But they have, unfortunate for government, and it's their own doing, by the way, they have no means of raising more revenue that will cushion them in the point where they can increase pay, public sector pay. Because when you increase TEU, there are a lot of them.
Oh yeah,
everybody comes in. The moment UTA takes and TEU takes, doctors will start theirs as well. Yes, so nurses will start theirs. Then now your 70% issue now rises to become, and because for now the country is broke, so to speak, and that's why they're pushing for this e-levy issue, because revenue stream are airborne unless we decide, which in the past a lot of governments has done. So we're gonna go into borrowing, but they borrow so much, Nana. Say now borrowing is not even attractive anymore. Bonds that have been thrown out there, 20-year bonds, 5 years bond, these bonds, selling this, borrowing money from China. They've done it so badly in the sense that now there is no way around now. So this government, for 4 years that Ronaldo is going to be in power, you're going to see more strikes happening because inflation is high and it keeps going. The cost of living has increased. So teachers' salary, education workers' salary, all these,
Ministry of Health,
they will be seeking for more. So there will be a lot of tension. There will be a lot of tension. I can't see this ending or just because the moment you finish with these people, if government decides to give them, NCBI nurses will stand up.
Oh yeah.
NCBI doctors.
They all kind of at the top rank. They all have.
They are all public sector pay.
Yes,
so who to make a say me year one and the other? You have to in a way satisfy everyone, but you cannot satisfy everyone. Even in this country, we know how difficult it is. When the COVID happened, the government came in with all these promises that they were going to look at pay for nurses. They did something with the pay with teachers, some increments happening that they didn't match exactly the same way they did with the nurses, but they did a bit so with the teachers, and they did a bit much more, less for nurses. But of course, we know the implication of that. Government here perhaps have some money that they can fall on. In our situation, there's no money.
I may call buyers. CCRD, yes, that's in 2021. A lot of things when in 2021, CCRD will be asked in 2021. But I started in 2022 now from the first actually. Then people started going on strike. There's another MCA for university teachers, almost lecturers, almost so-called strike. What does that tell you as
I think Samir basically digested it, well, you've just kind of cut them and just, go through the whole thing anyway. So it's not going to stop anyway, as he said, there'll be more coming through. And having said that, when you read that, what they were saying is like they are yes, because the teachers wanted and they still owe them. We don't have money in the system anyway, and that on top of it. So basically, it just I don't even know how to even answer this question because how do you survive? With inflation, maybe I more control. I don't know.
But is it not interesting? Because even if we take these cocoa carriers, for 5 years, 20 pesos Ghana.
And then
20 pesos.
5 pesos, 10 pesos, right?
20 pesos for what do you say?
Increment, 20 pesos.
Right.
Increment. Almost almost pay one city. I saw
This government is going to struggle.
It
They
is
need
so
to
sad.
they need to
But the
find.
thing is, they are going to it anyway, so they're going to leave the problem for
Oh
someone
yeah,
else,
of course. That's what's going to happen
And
if
it's a
they
sad
do
situation.
vote them out. The next government is going to
Struggle.
inherit serious problem because you know what, Nanado himself is not going to suffer this rot that his government has caused. It is the one that is going to inherit them because with these bonds that they floated, some of the bonds mature later on, where the money and the funny thing is that some of these bonds that were shown out there, and I don't know what they used the money for, to be quite honest with you. So if you say you're selling bonds and people have bought the bonds, it means that you generated some revenue. Revenue is meant to be used for developmental purposes. You haven't used them and used them to pay people. So you are nothing to show for that. Another government comes to power. When they are in power, 2 years down the line, their bond is yield. They are yield, and they have to pay people the interest on the bond, of the investment that they've done. So you're going to create more problems for future governments. That is going to, whether being it's the MPP administration or it be the NDC, it's the whole story. The guy is, you're a banker, and sometimes I don't understand his economics at all. Because this issue of maybe because he's a banker, that's why he believes so much in borrowing. Because that's how banking works, isn't it? But banking works better with more borrowing, and then they make money out of that. So maybe he has philosophy.
There is one more story. Sammy, is very interesting. Growing teenage pregnancy in the Eastern region blame on poverty. The Eastern region recorded 8,174 teenage pregnancies as at September 2021, up from 7,978 recorded within the same period in 2020. And the Ghana Health Service said of the cases, 12.6% represent girls aged 10 to 14 years, whilst 12.2% represent age 15 to 19. According, the record shows an increment of 12.4% over 2020 cases of teenage pregnancy. Here, Dr. Wilfred Okusu, the Eastern Regional Director of GHS, said in an interview with the Ghana News Agents. He said the increment could be associated more with poverty and lack of parental control rather than the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of parents from poor homes may not be able to control their girls very much because if the child needs something and you cannot provide, the child will get it elsewhere. Now, the reasons here, this story, me personally picked me up on, and I know my story that was covered by, we talked about it, COVID, quite enough, about bleeding. I remember you said in this house about leading into teenage pregnancy, and was it not interesting? Say, and it's not that I want to politicize everything. This you go to school 3 months, I have it in a few 3 months, and could they not have? And poverty, obviously, himself poverty or honor, even if it's poverty, as I know, I know about school fees enough. So why should we look at poverty now, rather than looking at the bigger picture as a year Dr. Winfred can once because there's so many factors that could lead into that. And I remember so well saying the past sat here when Koranico school, no Buffy, you said in we have been one or we have a chubby, and you call to a hobo, no one on your name. No, and as if say like yesterday, you also a prophet, and it looks as if say right now I'm beginning to believe that we are prophet. It's the region there inside 10 years of 12%, 10 years.
it's wrong on every level. Like, can you imagine the innocence of a child being sort of taken or stolen away from them, not even knowing, you know what I mean? How do you 10-year-old actually give birth? Like, I mean, I know, but it just, it's. I mean, you have friends that have got children that's kind of come to 10 years. You just think, can you even imagine that even happening? Like, and it's happening. And then we talk about poverty. You were talking about, say, almost school fees, and some of them don't go through that. But when you talk about poverty, then it's not just school fees and one problem at the moment. I think a lot of families are struggling home-wise anyway, with the COVID being part of it and coming home on and off. Parents have to still go to school, go to work, and the children actually are left hanging around with friends and in the wrong company. And peer pressure is also a bit around as well, which will cause this pregnancy stuff going on situations anyway. Because and also a lot of parents don't can afford, to look after their children. So we minimum big rock like papa no ni at that time. So or two few more continent Ghana or sorry, una obia as man baby and the 15, 16 or the let's see and what basso now it just some parents don't even care. They just want to be or better supportive fee. So I'm not surprised that these things are happening. I think as parents need to be aware of what is actually going on, but it just so they can actually survive on a small amount of money for to abuse their child to get some money. They do that, and I think they see us like hope because we'll be able to fee. And it's not surprising anyway because COVID will play part of it. Education, whereby 16, as I said, the 6 on and off, it's going to play part of it. Here also play part of it. But then I think this is where the education it kind of leads me to my next what I want to say about how it is important now for the government to see the need for education, like this education in schools. You can't prevent this thing from happening, but at least if the children can protect themselves, then at least they don't have children young while they are young themselves. And maybe the government will have to look into bringing some more education about, sex education. And I know some a lot of parents will say like, "Well, we're banning here, like put some human whatever it is," but it's happening, and if it's happening, then you have to find a way of stopping or preventing it from happening. And that probably might be, say, you might have to start sex education in school
at the primary level
and get them to understand. But to say, we live in a globalized world that wherever you can actually watch here, any child in Ghana, any part of the world can actually watch it, and you can actually communicate it with anyone anywhere as far as they put their smartphone. So if that's the case, then how do you say, I'm also not going through this situation anyway. I think we are talking about Eastern region. I'm sure all this stuff is going on in some part of Ghana. But I think if you look at someone like Accra, I think last time we reviewed the figures, Accra was quite low and Kumasi was quite actually high and stuff like that. But those places will be, especially Accra and probably Kumasi, will be lower because they will know how to protect themselves. Youngsters kind of, they are more. There's a bit more education enlightenment in that one, and they more kind of know a bit more how to look after themselves a bit more. So it's about time that the government have to look into this anyway. I think it's wrong as a government to see your children, like the youth in your country, getting pregnant at 10,
wasting away,
and you are not actually seen as a problem. Because for me, I see it as a problem. I'm a woman, and to have even if I have a girl or say maybe background, or it's an abuse on every level, and we have to find out who is getting them pregnant because it's an abuse. They're not 18 yet. Why are you engaging with them and not having sex with them? It's wrong on that. I don't even care if it's their age group. They need to be brought into justice for those things because who's still there no innocence, and that is not right. And there should be something done by the government just to prevent this thing from happening because it's not just Eastern region is happening.
I knew told a story. I know he's very passionate about it. Mama, I know Ghanaians, you have our culture, and growing up in Ghana, I'm sure in Ghana, and some of the family values, so we are Palana, it's not just about you, but it affects the whole kind of family. So sometimes there's a lot of education it will feel to the extent sometimes young parents could be so could trap mushroom to me, he says just because they don't want you to look. Head of producer, there's a whole story chapter on it. I think one day we'll come and discuss that on the way. The whole idea of those kind of my parent here is not for you to look attractive. At the same time, no. So what happened to that culture? Is it because we're losing focus, and now is it because of our acculturation, or we're trying to copy the West now? No, because of digitalization. So in and when we live in such a global world, I don't want people to think meaning teenage pregnancy, I will hope it, but Sisi and I say a posture, and for us to blame it, Dr. Winfred, blame is poverty, is it because our culture we lose your focus on something?
I don't know. It's the simple answer, but I think that Anita touched on something very important, which is the aspect that I wanted to move this session to. I mean, your test and you too, Anita. What's the age of consent in Ghana?
Age of consent, obey to me.
The consent means where you can say, okay, I want to engage in any.
It's 17, I think.
Or whatever.
It's 17.
It's actually 16. But,
16.
So when you read the story, the important part, which for me is not actually, it's possible it's actually being looked at, because this story. I actually this story that I think somewhere last year.
Yeah, we did.
It's the whole all that, and the thing that I did say is the issue of age of consent, and therefore what the statistics suggest here: 12% of the figure
were 10 and 9
no gives consent to sex, and they are pregnant. So, in my view, if the law is very clear about what age of consent means and what it is, what is happening to the people that are pregnant with these entities is
girls.
12
Can you imagine the difference between 10 and 14 or 12 consent higher than what within the consent
so
age?
12.2% is 15 to 19, and even that. So
15, because only 15 will fall under the 10.
So this is you see, that's where the problem is. And for me, I think sometimes when you want to stop these things, you have to use the law. Prosecution can discourage people from engaging in this sort of. You mentioned something, the cultural practices as well. Possibly, maybe we've moved on from culturally some of the things that, because it's a very much global world now, and I don't think so. The parents have stopped though about education, teenage pregnancy. When we were growing up, this issue was there. You came on the television, in the adverts, all of that. And there was other one that there was a teenage pregnancy. And that suggests clearly said the issue was also around that time. But I think the specific points that is being, so the data that is being analyzed is where the shamefulness of this situation is, that underage children that have been impregnated. As we impregnated them,
we don't know.
Very clear, the law has been broken 12.something%
over that
in this region alone. By the way, what does that translate into? How many was the total?
It was 8,174.
10% of 8,000 is about 800, isn't it?
And plus, we shouldn't forget the fact that 12.2% that was 15 to 19 up to the so 15.
Let's say about 1,000 people. Let's say about 1,000 people out of that were illegally penetrated, or because they are pregnant, so illegally penetrated. In that 1,000 people should have been in prison. Penetration. 1,000 people should have been facing the law.
What if one person penetrated 10 people?
Sorry.
But yes, Or maybe out of the 1,000, maybe Tinder did one, so if it probably more than the 1,000.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is that the law, whoever is responsible for these social welfare, they should be taking these figures data very seriously.
Is it not under child
social welfare?
Social welfare.
Yeah, this falls under
social welfare.
So they I'm hoping someone looks at those data, because it was the same thing last year.
No, last year was lower. It's gone up.
No, it's gone up. So
what I mean that the same problem was last year.
We had it.
I think its region was still the highest. It's gone up from 7,976. Recorded
I remember this is only Eastern region, by the way.
Yeah.
So this is not nationwide.
Children.
A lot of children have been abused by.
And even if you think, no disrespect, if you go to the north, where they can even marry babies. Papa Penny to marry babies.
Most of them are symbolic.
Yeah.
They're just symbolic in nature.
But at the end, they go to live with them at a very early age.
But they don't do any,
We can't confirm that.
Culturally, that's what.
It's their culture.
That's how they do it. It's not like you can basically start having sexual. But look, possibly some cultural things, norms will break the law, which all means that those things all need
to be analyzed and amended.
So it's quite worrying, this sort of figure.
I want to add something to something when you finish.
Yeah, you can go.
It says from this report, a lot of parents from poor home may not be able to control it, because they're using that's one of the reasons. It may be that some parents from poor home cannot be able to control their girls very much, because if the child needs it,
they go somewhere else.
But I think we also have to get into our heads that, like, you can't, because how does that teach? I mean, I'm using Tiwa, for example, this big role is in. You don't need to sleep with somebody because you want something. I think we should all kind of strive to work hard to get something. I think all this education is important. So like it has making importance. So like to have a female empowerment is very important, because and it talks about women and not getting what they need, and then it's not talking about the men or the boys who also are doing what they're doing. Because I'm thinking, so there's education just not for the girls, it's for the boys and or for the whole country, because it talks about the girls, people have control over the girls. But there's some people out there that they're not doing the right thing. So therefore, the education needs to go for everyone else. I don't think I like the way they've just made it just a man point.
I think it's because it's the teenage pregnancy and the girls at the end. If there is any delay, even if they will go back to education now, almost suffer more.
I mean, I remember this. So TNC time, the girl child education.
Yeah.
And then
And we are so behind thinking that, I mean, look at how much is rocketed in one region, and it makes you wonder, like, what is actually going on?
Yeah, I don't know what the figures are in this country in terms of prosecution of, but also because you see this figure that we see in Ghana. You haven't heard anything like that in Oklahoma.
No.
The law went.
Yeah, it was. And there are supports and here in primary school they talk about
sex education. It's not the only thing about the father is being spoken to in schools, but it's the general public.
Yeah. If you put yourself in it, that's a big thing.
To be honest, we're talking about money not being in the system, people are not getting paid. Do you even think this is something that's going to be on the agenda of the government just to fix this problem? It's not my problem. No one cares, and it happens.
Nobody cares about it. I'm telling you.
Yo, it's you for Saturday, so Yani Petri. Because program before, as you might know, yesterday as the turning time. Ain't here the 60 minutes produced at their Kashwama. Ain't here a feed, but one name Jesus, no so is the region now, but there. This year yes, yeah, post it for mommy to why, yeah, Yoko. Mupo, now I'm fun in the office. This year, I saw channels from a China. I shall see a bubble video. No, I'm sorry, be a damper or the camera be see her. And so your prophet be now come be. This is about time, and none of you can one. Because you also bet you prophecy in now because from Tuesday, you bet you open. Yeah, and someone who do at the bar pesos. So when you said this week, I want who you can have. Now we're gonna also still show papa. It's making sure say. I see if you're 51st January, go for strike when we're dead. So when you be union now, if you have a cause to go, I'm not speculating or encouraging people to go on strike, but make sure you look at your constitution and fight for what is right in a rightful way, in a civil way. Maybe I waited and my papa be go. Ain't it until time Diane Nana Hema? That's a net of it. I'll take this opportunity to wish you another happy new year. 2023, COVID or no COVID, I still need one be a pure West Africa. Yeah, meeting is squared. So, Kazabi Brazil. It's COVID or no COVID, you chacha when you're not 8 months and can if you know, making sure so when you feed in beer because inspirational are right from this program. So now, Obaya has been fine to many. Mr. Interview, watch the space. Time will be with Anita. It will come very, very, very soon. But starting with your videos, maybe they're live. It's making sure say date, you know, and him say Wednesday or Thursday, move back. It's well been with Anita and Pastor and day. And that you draw it in but making sure they will be tuning in. Until then, adios. Bye bye.